My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Cole Ross.
And you're listening to Watch Out for Fireballs. It is a Games Club podcast.
And this week we are talking about Super Castlevania 4, which is a platformer game developed and published by Konami for the Super Nintendo in 1991.
Yeah, and we are in the year 2025 now. 2525 is different.
Yeah.
I think that's a bird song. Instead, it's just 2025.
Yeah, the regular kind.
Yeah, welcome back. The actual year it is. Now when we're recording this, we're recording this in mid-December.
Yep.
Before break, because it would come out during the break.
I think this comes out on New Year's Day.
Yeah. Nothing changes
Hopefully.
on New Year's Day.
Yeah. But hello from last year, and also this is the last thing we're recording this year. Yeah.
Yeah, thank goodness. The last time we did a classic Castlevania was early in 2022. We did Simon's Quest. It's one of those series where we're getting this. We covered all the classics.
Yes.
This way, except possibly like Bloodlines, Rondo, like the ones that are the non-Igavania ones.
Yeah, the weird Genesis ones, which I have no history with.
I don't have a lot of history with them. I played Rondo, but on the PSP port. Castlevania 4 is a retelling of the events of Castlevania 1. We have Simon Belmont storming Dracula's castle in order to lift the curse that he's put on the land.
Yeah. Nice and simple. A Dracula exists. We do not want him to exist anymore.
Yes. Yeah. And this plays with some very important differences similar to a classic Castlevania.
Yes.
Your jump is similar. You can control it.
Yeah.
You have limited control over it, but it's a real similar speed, walking speed and arc. A lot of the enemies are back. From the NES version. Just they look better.
Yes.
16-bit version. But you have a couple of new tools that are important.
Yeah.
Here.
You can crouch now.
Yes.
Which, helps when you're trying to avoid stuff. Also, there are some narrow things, you want to do like a little penguin walk to get under them.
Yeah. Well, you can move while crouching.
Yeah.
Now is the big thing. You kind of duck walk.
Yeah.
Through it like a drag performer, I'm given to understand. Does that. You still have your health bar with this, which is recovered by meat pickups. Meat can now be found in candles, and you don't have to eat an entire turkey.
Nope.
You can sometimes just eat a drumstick.
Sensible.
And these are sensible portions, Simon. And these restore less health. The turkeys restore everything. The drumsticks restore less, but they're found a lot more frequently.
Yes.
Again, they can be found in candles.
Yeah. The biggest change here, in addition to the jump, is the whip.
Yes.
And it changes things quite a bit to be able to attack in more directions than just right in front of you.
Yep. You can attack in all 8 directions, only down if you jump. But you can attack in all those directions instead of just straight ahead.
Yes.
If you hold the attack button, your whip will dangle. And then you can kind of wiggle it with your wrist. It is the funniest, least damaging looking attack.
It's
like you kind of tickle an enemy with the whip.
It looks like you're just fucking around.
It reminds me a lot of the low punch or high punch combos in Mortal Kombat. And two characters stand next to each other and kind of just
slap fight,
flail their arm. Yeah, they slap fight their arms at each other a little bit. It's like the equivalent of that with a weapon.
Yeah.
This will do damage. It does way less damage than a whip strike, but importantly, it can block projectiles.
Yeah.
Through here, this is worth talking about as this major change because it has to do with this game's reputation.
Right.
Whipping in multiple directions has a lot of different changes to it that the get ready to be mad at us. The popular consensus is this is like a baby easy Castlevania and everything. I don't think that's true.
Oh God, no. The platforming gets nightmarish. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the platforming is hard. I think the bosses, some of them are just as hard as the old ones, but the way that this is easier, I think, is compounded by extra things it's expecting you to do.
Yes.
To me, the big innovation of this is one, like de-emphasizing sub-weapons, which we'll talk about on its own, but your whip is more of a defensive tool now.
Yeah.
It always has been. You could always whip projectiles out of the air, but you're expected to do that more. And you're expected to, because you can whip in 45-degree angles upwards, more things are going to come at you from that angle. That's always been a Castlevania thing. Like Medusa heads can come at you from that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I found a lot more things spawning from that direction.
Yeah.
And everything. And being able to switch my whip into flaccid mode and kind of wave it around in the general direction of projectiles was how I defended myself at all. In previous Castlevanias, there isn't really, you're not expected to do that usually. It's more about kind of knowledge and moving slowly.
Yes.
Here, you're still doing that. You're still moving slowly and using your knowledge, but you can do something to not take the hit more often. Like I felt like I was being asked to play more actively than old Castlevanias.
Yeah. And so like the first bit of this game I feel is, a little bit easy, but like by about halfway through, the extra expectations they put on you in return for having these extra abilities start to add up, right?
Yeah.
And like the final levels of this, like I in order to get through them, I was just save stating a lot.
Yeah, it is a game where I think that it has actually pretty generous checkpointing compared to a lot of earlier Castlevanias, but it is still a fun and challenging game if you give yourself reasonable checkpoints.
Yes.
In it, which you're able to do easily now. For this. And it's necessary for this platforming because the platforming I think is actually really tough. I think it's tougher than the NES versions, NES entries.
Yes. That checkpointing, like, you do not have to start over again if you die, right? Like even if you have run out of lives and have to continue, it'll just start you at the beginning of the stage, right?
Yep.
So I think that shortening that iteration loop is something that people might be talking about when they say that this is easier, but I feel like the demands are concurrently scaled.
And easier in a way that is interesting and like, or less uninteresting. If that makes sense. Like making you just do the whole stage again, Ninja Gaiden bullshit.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a very interesting way to do difficulty.
No.
And I love the classic Castlevanias. Like I was thinking about it, I've been on this arc of falling out of love with Metroidvanias a little bit, because we've just done a bunch of mediocre ones.
Yes.
In this. And one of the things I was realizing playing this was that like, I'm now these are the better Castlevania games, pilled. Like having that kind of rigor and attention, being demanded of this is 100% more interesting to me than just the smoothest power curve you've ever seen in your life. And I was craving that in this, this idea of this kind of like much tougher, I give myself reasonable checkpoints. I'm not going to start over the whole level, but I have to actually figure out how to do this.
Yes.
That was really refreshing to me. And it was nice to remember that's what Castlevania used to be about. Entirely before it just switched into a completely different series with different values.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, I would like to see, follows on this. There are some, right? Like, I think that those, what is it, Bloodstained Curse of the Moon games capture some of that. Yeah, I love those things. Yeah,
and even like Infernax kind of does.
Yeah.
A little bit.
But yeah, just the intentional platformer, I guess.
Yes, like caution action is what I was calling it on Blue Sky. Your whip is a grappling hook as well.
Yes.
Now, luckily, this does not require too much rigor.
Yeah.
Generally, this just kind of works. If you had to do a lot of complicated grappling hooks, it would be difficult.
Yeah.
The control scheme doesn't quite work for it. There are a couple of points where it's a little bit tricky. Generally, this is pretty gentle.
This feels like a number of things that is added to show off the Mode 7 stuff, which is its own bullet point later on. This happens kind of infrequently, and you only do it when there are rings, like specifically there. Like it is not something that is like expected of you to find a way to, grapple off of anything. It's clearly signaled when this has got to come out.
Yeah. Your whip still powers up from leather to chain. And kind of all of these changes together de-emphasize sub-weapons, special items. This is a big talking point of this being too easy. A big way that you kind of walk, that you master the bosses or can kind of dog walk the bosses in early Castlevanias is just having the right sub-weapon.
Yes.
So it ends up becoming this kind of meta knowledge of knowing where the sub-weapon you want to get is getting enough hearts and not accidentally replacing the sub-weapon. So to make sure you have the holy water or what have you. Here, because you can attack in all directions, you don't need that as much. And you can attack upper right. You don't need to have the axe if you don't want it. Like the axe is a fail condition in this game. So weapons are still very useful. You can still use them to dog walk bosses, but you don't really need them in stages.
Right.
I find.
I mean, there are some things that, you can't you can't do. Like you don't get the projectile that goes all the way across the screen. Like the dagger, will do that if you need to do any kind of like sniping.
Yeah. Well, and then the cross, which is weirdly the only thing you want or need in this game. That will go across the screen twice. It's cheap. It's powerful.
It's ridiculous how like depowered the holy water is in this.
Yeah, they seriously nerfed it. This is a thing where I will say that as much as like the sub-weapons are really iconic to Castlevania, and I like that mechanic of supplementing your very limited moveset with them in the first one, I don't miss it that much in this game.
Not really, no.
I don't care that much, and I don't think that's a thing that makes this easier. It's cited a lot as an example of something that makes this a lot easier, but I don't think it matters too much.
It just makes it different. Like the stuff that they're asking of you is different enough. They're like, it's not like they just designed this like it was Castlevania 1 through 3, but gave you the superpower, right? Like running into almost like a, Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes, where like that is a game made about being 2D. So suddenly being able to aim in first person is gonna break everything, Like it's not that kind of situation. They actually design around the new stuff that you have. So it's not an unalloyed advantage for you.
Yeah, I think so. Like I think this game is very designed to its moveset. It would be very interesting to play through Castlevania 1 with this moveset, like the actual geometry of it and everything.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's a mod or something that has done that, like an 8-way directional whip in Castlevania 1.
Yeah.
Curious about that. But this also gets really, really fucking hard.
Yeah.
To me, as hard as anything in Castlevania 3 or Castlevania 1. The specifically platforming more than bosses, but also some of these bosses are absolute sons of bitches. So
we can talk about that. Yeah, we can talk about that Mode 7 kind of thing here. Like, doesn't come through today because obviously all this is very outmoded. But this was an early showpiece for the Mode 7 graphics built in to the, the SNES cartridges, right? Mode 7 being something that allowed for scaling and for rotation of sprites.
And you do both those things. There are many set pieces in this that feel like tech demo stuff, which again, I love this game. I have no problem with that. Like it sounds like a damning thing. Some of these are nauseating, in kind of a literal sense. These things don't always work, but I can kind of still put myself back in 1991 seeing it and being like, I didn't know video games could do that.
It was a gee whiz thing, right?
Super gee whiz, significantly more gee whiz to me than Sonic moving fast.
Yes.
I came into this from the advertising of the blast processing and such.
Yeah.
This game is beautiful. Everything looks really good. The monsters are great. If you like little skeleton shits, they're really good in this. Yeah. There's so many good little shits in this. A bunch of the bosses are good little shits. Everyone looks good. And the atmosphere is really good, similar to the original trilogy.
Yes.
This kind of still a little bit goofy. You know, there's some goofy shit. Skeletons throwing bones is going to be a little bit goofy, but still somehow rides the line.
Yes. And the music here is very good, but I do not think that Castlevania composition is complemented by the SNES sound palette.
I don't know. I like the soundtrack a lot. It is soft. Like it is a little bit less percussive. You notice it more on certain tracks. The opening track, like the Simon's theme, the signature one.
Yeah.
For this is so fucking incredible.
Oh, it's great.
To me, and the little reprise of it they play when you beat a boss. Like I want to rig up my house so when I fall asleep, it plays that sound. Like I've beaten the day.
Yeah.
And I just go to sleep. Be incredible.
Just a little victory fanfare for the day.
I'm also exceedingly weak to the sound palette of an organ.
Yeah.
I love the sound of an organ. It's my favorite instrument, probably.
Yeah, it's really good. I just, for me, I found myself missing the harshness, I guess, of the NES with some of these tracks.
It comes up a lot when they do the reprises directly. Yeah, in the last level where they start playing the hits. Like I wouldn't necessarily choose the Super Castlevania 4 versions of those songs. I like the original compositions a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
No. This was not always going to be a remake. Development started in 1989 with a new director, Masahiro Ueno, who was kind of a newcomer to Konami.
Yes. Originally there are design documents for this that kind of show its original direction. Characters shown in modern clothing. They're trying to do that Neo Tokyo stink on this. And the team that's working on this was very small.
Yes.
They started kind of attempting to revisit ideas from earlier games.
Yeah.
And Konami had tried this whip system. They won this 8-way whip. They've actually tried it in the original, but they couldn't pull it off for technical reasons.
No.
So we may have actually gotten that thing I was wish casting earlier.
Maybe, possibly. Then we would have lost cool special stuff about early NES. They would have designed around it, but it's hard to picture those without the limitations, right?
No, I like the limitation. I wouldn't change Castlevania 1.
No. Early designs for this game had branching paths like Castlevania 3 did, but that was taken out. This is, still strictly linear, going through roughly the same environments that the first game took you through.
Yeah. In those early design documents, you can see there is a mechanic that was meant to be for grappling enemies. You grab them with your whip and you can throw them. This was scrapped. I suspect because it would look super goofy.
It would be really bad.
Like a lot of the enemies are basically as tall as you.
Yeah.
If you were like Scorpion getting over them and then tossing them.
Picking it up and throwing it like Bam Bam.
Yeah, I don't think it would look super good.
No.
You also don't need it.
Nope.
In it. But yeah, there are some kind of changes that happened. Happy with the version we got, however.
Yes.
And it ended up being a huge hit. Big seller, big system mover for the SNES.
Yeah.
Did not look like a kid's game. It was kind of dark and scary. People had fond memories of Castlevania, and it showed off all of those tech things.
Yes.
You could bring your friends over and be like, look what I got.
Yeah, look at those chandeliers. You ever seen a chandelier like that?
You ever seen a leg like this? Yeah. Look at his leg. Look at that. Look at Simon's leg. You ever seen a leg like this?
Look at his leg. Come on, those pixels right there. You couldn't do those pixels. Come on.
You ever see a chicken leg like that? This one gives me 4 health pips. All the other stuff is Castlevania. So you're still collecting hearts as ammo. Yeah. You have points, which are good for extra lives. You collect numbers, which will change how many sub-weapons you can have on the screen.
Yeah, double and triple shot. Yeah.
And you lose those when you die.
Yeah.
Same thing with the whip upgrade. So that is the big, that's very Konami. It's like very Gradius. That is, the game has a little bit of a, you make a mistake and it compounds arc to it, where once you lose all your powers, like you can dog walk all the bosses with cross and triple, but if you die trying it, then you have to start over again and you won't get that sub weapon.
Yeah, you'll get whatever power ups they give you in the little room before the boss.
Yeah. But other than that, I just realized we hadn't explained very much Castlevania, which is a little silly because we can assume people know Castlevania, but in case you don't.
It's worth laying that out. I was like, man, these are very short generalities that I typed up, but also we've talked about Castlevania so much.
Yeah, it's that stuff can come from, go back and listen to those episodes.
Yes.
If not. And generally, if you've never, when we talk about the Igavania Castlevania split, it is, in terms of rigor, these are incredibly careful and slow-paced platformers.
Yeah.
Part of the reason why playing this was really fun and was reminding me how much I love this game was being in the mood for that, and that being more my taste as I get older. Everything is Twitch action now.
Yes.
And I just want to slow the fuck down. Like in video games, I want Resident Evil 4s.
Yes.
Give me something where I'm rewarded for being cautious and careful. And this game does a good job of that.
It does. And also, I mean, we recorded about Kirby's Adventure in Castlevania 4 in the same day. And
same session.
And I prepped for them at basically the same time. So it's a little bit of like two very extreme ends of the, early Nintendo side-scroller difficulty kind of scale.
Big whiplash.
Hey.
Hey. We're going to go through it here. It is a platformer, which means we're not going to talk about every piece of ground. Every encounter. We're going to hit set pieces, new enemies, new gimmicks.
Yes.
As we move through, this will probably be a shorter episode for this. This week is this month is very juicy though. So buckle up.
So you start out at the entrance. This is a small level, kind of easing you into things. You're outside of the castle, in front of all these skull mountains. A nice little touch. And you jump onto a drawbridge, which closes behind you, getting you into this kind of courtyard.
And the score during this is starting off all slow and atmospheric before it kicks in. When you get inside, just absolutely incredible shit. We're going to be fighting skeletons and bats here. Some zombies that crawl out of the ground. Nothing that is, or climb out from the background rather. Nothing that is too challenging at this point.
Right.
It makes sense. The bats they're bringing in because they're kind of trying to teach you that you can attack in multiple directions.
Yeah.
And two gimmicks. One that is repeated, one that isn't. That's kind of part of the other appeal of this game, I think, is that oftentimes things don't get repeated. We start getting grappling points. So we get our grappling mechanics. Those are pretty gentle, I find, pretty generous.
Yeah.
If you're not jumping from one grapple to another, like that's hard. If you just are trying to grapple onto something and swing on to the next platform, it will just mostly work. You
get a pretty good velocity off of it.
Yes.
And also you can control the length of your grapple as well. So, getting in position for a good, jump is not that hard. Also, I found that where a grapple was in place, there were not like flying enemies or lots of projectiles that you had to deal with.
With one super exception.
Oh God, yeah.
Which we'll get to. And then a gimmick that isn't repeated, which is the foreground and background. There are gates that you can go in to switch back and forth, and there'll be different topography in the foreground and background, pits and things, and different enemies. It'll be on one or the other. This is just a cute thing to show off. It isn't that interesting to engage with. It doesn't change your strategy very much. It's just cool. Thinking back to seeing it for the first time and be like, shit, you could do that. There's a similar trick in Super Mario World, but like, it's just neat. Neat.
Yeah, why not? Two layers to the play. You don't have to like reload everything. It all happens at the same time. Show it off. It's a new system. Like that is way more interesting than just we can make this look better. There are more pixels on the screen. Like it's more surface area that you can put in. They ended up not using it, but show that you can do it because it inspires ideas, right?
Yeah. We get some more enemies here. These flying unicorn heads that come through, these unes that drop down, ghosts that pop up, all classics. At this point. And then floor sections on loan from Castlevania 3, if you jump on them, they flip.
Yes.
You can walk across them, but if you land on them, they flip.
Right. And we end with the boss. All of the stages end with the boss. This is Rodane, a skeleton on a skeletal horse. Completely new for the game, I believe.
Yeah, I don't think this guy's familiar.
Yeah.
It's a 2-phase fight. The first fight, he's on his horse, so he's going to shoot fireballs at you as you go through. And at half health, the horse dies, and he starts doing drop attacks with his sword. He has to make it personal.
Yes.
At this point, when you get him down to his last hit point, he'll also come back for one last hit. Which is a nice little like fuck you at the end if you fuck that up, and then you beat him, and again you get that best sound in the world. The best victory jingle in video games.
God, I love how many bosses have like two distinct phases in this.
Yeah,
you know,
it sucks in souls. Cool here.
Yeah.
You know, the way you end the level is an orb comes down. Something I found out today from watching a speed run of this. The orb coming down is actually what resets your hearts. And takes away your hearts for the next level.
Okay.
You start out each level with like 5 hearts. You can bank tons of them, but this is a way that it's subtly encouraging you to use your sub-weapons.
Yeah.
And not hoard them like you
Can't
might.
take it with you. Yeah.
Can't take it with you. There's a level where you just get to the end and there is a boss, but there's no orb and it doesn't take your hearts.
Huh.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah. Just a weird little quirk.
I also lied earlier. Not every stage ends with a boss. Sometimes there's a boss and there's more stage, as is the case in this next level, the forest. So I apologize. I will get out Notes app right now.
Yeah. Get out the Notes app and get on TikTok. For TikTok apology or Facebook Reels. You're not good enough for TikTok. You have to earn TikTok.
Grandpa.
Yeah. The next level is the forest.
Right.
Yeah.
And you start out in the graveyard with these zombie hands that will reach up and hold you in place while other stuff can attack you. You get these guys who are made out of leaves.
Yeah. Those guys are great. Second part, there's a lake. There are a lot of these birds, these ravens that swoop in while you're platforming. Big pain in the ass. You know, again, you have to be very careful. Edge along the screen and see if you can trigger them before you do the jump.
Yes. Falling into the water is not instant death. You can jump repeatedly to stay afloat, but you can't do it forever.
Yeah. Also, I think a welcome change because I don't like instant deaths. I don't think it's an interesting way of being hard, usually. The boss is a classic. This is Medusa. It's not just her head like in Castlevania 2. This is the full Medusa, but much easier than the Medusa of Castlevania 1.
Yeah.
Shoots the petrifying rings, flings snakes at you. You can kind of early on with these bosses before they get tougher, you can kind of DPS race them. You know, because you're going to get your health back. So if you go into this with full health or high health and a decent sub weapon and a fully charged whip, you can kind of just like duck down and hit her.
Yeah.
That's another thing people are talking about when they say this is easier. I think it's balanced out by other factors, but that is easier.
I didn't really make a note of like the special weaknesses to certain, to certain special weapons that a lot of these would have. So if there is like a super obvious way to just completely melt her that I didn't catch, forgive me.
It is always cross with 3.
Yeah.
Like it is always triple cross because the crosses hit twice. If you can get 3 of them on the screen, that's 6 hits and you can do it almost as fast as you can tap the button. You can just, that will melt just about everybody.
Yeah.
I ended up with other sub weapons on accident only in this game.
Yeah.
Which would again limits your verb. I'm not doing as many things, but also I'm making up that in whip play.
Yes.
In general whippery.
Yeah. A little bit more level after Medusa. You're going down this river and avoiding gargoyles who will swoop and shoot. And this is leading down into the caverns.
Yeah. This water has a current that you can fight against. They'll push or pull you. Again, just kind of a little set piece thing. Weirdly, it reminds me of like Half-Life 2.
Oh, yeah.
This game is every stage is doing a new thing like that. This goes into the caverns. The first part is this cave tunnel. It's very calm and has these mud guys. And when you hit them, they break into smaller mud guys who then break into smaller mud guys through that. They do more damage when they're in full form.
Yes.
Which I also found out through the speed run. So even if you're trying to avoid them, it's worth whipping them into smaller guys.
Yeah. There are dropping stalactites because, of course, if they're there, they're going to drop, and those have a larger hit area than you think. I definitely got like ghost blasted by some of these as they dropped.
Kind of disagree with some of these hitboxes. That is the first in this game of like a trap that you can see before you go. Again, testing that awareness.
Yeah.
You look up and you see something above you. You're like, oh, that's going to drop. It's Castlevania. You cannot just charge ahead in this game.
Yeah. Second part of this is some sewer tunnels. And you end up kind of climbing up this waterfall to get into the aqueducts, which are full of these mermen who have their long range kind of water spitting attack.
Yeah, classic guys.
Yeah.
We also ran into crumbling block platforms here, and then the white dragon that we see. You know, the skeleton snake, basically.
Yeah.
With the dragon head, you can only hit it in the head. Sometimes it dissolves into a tiny red heart for each segment.
I love that.
These are at the far end of jumps, and even though you can swim sometimes, there are fewer just death drops in this.
Yes.
You still get knocked back and everything. It's still Castlevania, so you have to be careful about these guys. Positioning yourself so you can whip their fireballs out of the air so they don't knock you off whatever platform you're on. Yeah.
Boss for this level is the Orphic Vipers. It is these twin dragon heads that will shoot out spreading fire shots. Very little safe ground in this. There are some small platforms on either side of the water here, and that's it.
Yeah. You have to be very careful that if you do get hit, you don't get knocked into the drink.
Yep.
And again, this is teaching you how to use your whip, and specifically sometimes your flaccid whip, just to deflect projectiles.
Yeah.
Getting into that hold and then wiggle kind of move there.
Yeah.
After getting through this, we go up into the Death Tower. Good on Drac. Every house needs one of these.
Yeah.
Here. And the first zone, we have these wall xenomorphs that pop out. And then remind me who these guys are. You have them in the notes as Mischief Skeleton. This is a phrase I like a lot, but it's not immediately recalling the villain of this.
I forget what I was referring to with Mischief Skeletons. I think they're little hopping around guys.
Okay. This is ambient notes.
Yeah, I think they're like what they have in place of flea men, because I do not remember flea men being kind of.
There are guys holding flea men, but I always knock them out of the air before they could drop them, if they were going to drop them.
Yeah. Let's see here. I'm going to look at I'm going to look at video of this because now I need to know.
Just put Mischief Skeleton into YouTube and see what happens. Or do Mischief Skeleton Iceberg Explained and just see what pops up.
Mischief Skeleton Iceberg Explained?
Yeah, no, that's just a common YouTube suffix.
All right. Let's see here. Looking at what these guys are. Come on, show me. Show me it. Oh, it's the hands that reach out from the background. It's regular skeleton enemies. I just think that they were doing something especially mischievous.
You noticed a twinkle in their eye.
Yeah.
You're just doing a little light punch up on Castlevania 4.
just reading some intent in. Yeah.
Headcanons, can be okay.
It's very important. I also like the skill that I didn't make a note of this, but you've got the background skulls that will turn to look at you.
I love it.
Yeah.
There's so much like little loving background shit in this.
Yeah. Oh, the Mischief Skeletons, I believe. So it's because we're talking about the ones on the walls. Sometimes there are just like skeleton torsos that will appear, the ones that kind of hang down and then just kind of wave their arms at you to attack you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I remember those guys.
I thought that was really goofy, and they kind of come out of nowhere. So I read mischief into that.
Yeah. Summed all that up in mischief.
I fucking hate these green platforms, though.
This took me a minute to figure out because we've had platforms where if you land on them, they flip. They start using them in platforming, and you have to jump right the fuck when you land on them.
Oh, yeah.
So like you line up multiple jumps before your first jump. You have to get on the edge to make sure that where you land on the next platform, you'll make it to the one after that.
Yes. I never got the timing down for this. Just like it has to be frame perfect, it feels like, because I felt like I jumped and then just ended up being just yeeted into a pit.
I did a lot of tapping. So I jump and I just like to hammer the jump button to make sure I jumped when I landed. And that worked. I don't know if there was a timing to it. Once I figured them out, like it was hard. I definitely got.
I feel like I
hadn't remembered.
I feel like I tried mashing and like that, like there might have been a cooldown or something that just led to me going blah.
No, you got to get the switch advantage to allow you to mash even faster.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. Just the window is very, very small.
Yeah. They're kind of unfair pool.
Yes.
A little bit. Yeah.
And there's a boss here, Puwexel.
Yeah. Puwexel. I think. The big gigantic disembodied skull with the huge segmented tongue.
The
the big pussy skull. The Gene Simmons skull experience. This guy's great.
Yeah. Just kind of flies around and tries to lick at you. The most dangerous thing is he will shake the screen and then rubble will drop. It falls very fast, so there's little window to identify if one is above you.
Yeah, tight pattern.
Yes.
For this. This is the first boss I think is a little bit challenging. Like he's not super hard, but he starts getting up there.
He fills the screen with
fills a lot of space.
Yeah.
Yeah. After this is a room that rotates periodically. You kind of walk forward. It looks like there's no way to go. And then the room rotates entirely.
Yes.
And then there's a big set piece that is, again, classic Castlevania hateful, where you are on a very small platform with Medusa heads coming from both sides, waiting for it to rotate again.
Yep.
So you can swing on out.
Yeah.
This is really hard.
It's a little bit like a slightly different take on like an elevator level almost.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
If it were, if your Flaccid Whip did full damage, this would be no problem.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You just kind of whip it around and everything. But the fact that will stun guys but not kill them makes this really tough.
Yeah.
The way that Castlevania 4 deploys Medusa heads is really interesting.
Yes.
This is the greatest density of them. They will still show up, but they're deployed like one at a time.
Yeah.
There'll be a very specific jump and they'll throw a Medusa head in there to kind of fuck you, as opposed to just having free flow hot and cold Medusa heads.
Yeah. Where it's like
sides.
They're being deployed specifically to try and goad you into jumping if you don't have an axe.
Yes.
And like jumping to avoid one will knock into another just because of the weird kind of unpredictable, to me, sinusoidal motion that they have.
They feel like to me like they are placed like an enemy placement here more than they are placed like a world state.
Yeah.
Like in previous games, like, oh, this area is Medusa'd up. I just have to deal with that. Here, it's more like, what if we put a Medusa here?
Yeah.
Can you bait out this Medusa before you make this jump?
Medusa is not a world state here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very great video game sentence.
It's worth saying here that the platform is so small that most of the time if one of these hits you, your knockback will throw you into the spikes. And spikes are instant death.
Yeah, you'll die in this one. So you kind of just have to manage where you're at. And you're still Simon Belmont. You don't move very fast just because you're a little bit more spry.
Yeah.
So this is hard. And then you run through a spinning wheel. This is very nauseating.
Yeah.
I think. This makes me queasy to look at. The wheel is spinning in the background.
It's like you're in a haunted house rotating tunnel kind of thing. So like very little is like different about it. Like there's no mechanical change that is happening here. It's just you are running along this platform that is falling apart behind you.
Yes. Yeah. Rough to me. This made me queasy. It's not that hard of a thing, but it was distracting.
Yes.
The thing.
Bad use.
Which I think is intentional.
Bad use of the Mode 7. Yeah.
Yeah. So then you have to ride these ascending blocks through this very narrow passageway in order to reach the boss arena here.
Yes, the Coronat.
Coronat, or Tunno Rock backwards is the idea behind this guy. Yeah.
Yeah. This guy, he's a rock golem, and we are in the crumbling ceiling zone. He will run back and forth and do little stomps, bringing bricks down and then also throwing them at you. And there are moving platforms on either side that'll help you get above them.
The debris is a big problem, and as he gets smaller, when you hit him and break off parts of him, he gets much faster. I also just realized that Puwexel licks you up.
That is, huh?
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah, because I know it's Coronat, because I was like, that has to be something. But no, I didn't notice Puwexel.
Yeah.
Licks you up.
Nice.
Yeah. Cute.
Good. That is a very cute little trick.
Yeah. But yeah, this guy can be tough. And he also, I feel like this guy gets some kind of hyper armor when he's on his last legs.
Feels like it, yeah.
Yeah, is doing more than one, or doing a full segment of health when he was at full health, and then near the end, not doing that. I'm having to hit him more times. So this was a real squeaker.
They're also using the Mode 7 scaling for this instead of giving new sprites for every form. So it is a little bit goofy looking.
Yeah. Yep. This brings us to the castle entrance. We actually make it into Castlevania. The first area is the switchback where these harpies fly in. And this is where they would drop the flea men. None of them dropped them for me. I ended up getting them. But they're bringing flea men. They go down in one hit, though. So as long as you can hit them before they drop, you kill them both.
And the second area isn't much of anything. Like, this is just a little, foreshadowing, foreboding, something there. You're just running up toward the main gate. And there are some skeletons who will attack with bone whips. They're learning.
Yes. They're learning from you. It's like whatever that game was, where you learn from the, I can't remember.
Oh, Echo.
Echo. Yeah. The whip skeletons are tough. They take more hits and everything. This brings us into the main entrance hall. And this is a classic Castlevania level. Yeah. We've seen this combo of enemies before every time we get into the castle. Yes. Zombies that come up, bats, and then dogs that will run. And the dogs will keep getting up after you down them.
Yes.
So you don't technically kill the dog.
No, which is welcome. Pretty early to get around that. And then you have shield armors that will throw axes, and they can't be hit under most circumstances. You kind of get behind them. Yeah,
you can. Well, I think you can hit them.
Oh,
these guys. You would usually, like, if you duck under their axes, you can hit their axes when they duck and hit them. And I think they were taking damage through that. They just take a few hits.
Yeah. Maybe they take less damage from the front, possibly.
Maybe.
I found myself more successful trying to get around them.
Gotcha.
Yes.
You head upstairs, you get to the ceiling, and you have to cross the hall by jumping between swinging chandeliers. This is just, mode 70 kind of thing, them swinging this way. This is not too tough.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of toughness to this, but you don't slip and slide. There's no gravity when you're on a sloped surface.
Just throw in a little bit of like high action. It swashes your buckles.
Yes.
Yeah. Then you get to the dance hall. You have ghosts kind of dancing around. There are actual dancers that move in a predictable pattern. And then you have the butlers. I love the butlers.
Butlers are great. Do you know the names of these ghosts?
No.
It's Freda Scare and Paula Abgul. Is the name of these ghosts.
Is that in the manual?
Yeah. Those were credits, I think, from Castlevania 1.
Okay.
Which had all the jokey credits.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the name of these guys.
I love it.
Yeah, Freda Scare and Paula Abgul.
God. I don't think that Castlevania should be goofy all the time, but just those little touches.
Every once in a while.
Yeah. I think the goofiness is a necessary element, but you have to be judicious.
There's that kind of goofiness, and then there's like the Order of Ecclesia goofiness where you walk into a room and it'll just be like raw skeleton dog or like something like that. Skeleton mischief skeleton.
Yeah, mischief skeletons. Yeah.
We get a big platforming run over these platforms that are crumbling over spikes, so you have to keep going. This is where they start putting candles to tempt you. On these things, you can't really stop.
Yeah.
And there are also those flipping platforms that are part of this as well. So you just have to really be on your jumps.
Yeah. And you get to a tower with some reviving skeletons, some red skeletons, and some hands that reach out of the background. These were present before. This was just the first time I made a note of them.
Yeah. Yep. You can hit them before they come there. If you hit the right spot, you'll just get a little damage mark and then they won't be able to grab you.
Yeah.
We go through another dance hall, and this has these dining tables that run at you. These are very funny to me.
Yeah.
I was like, that doesn't look right. And then it just goes, throws itself at me very fast.
Yeah. They move around like horses.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
Until you get to the boss, the dancing specters.
Yes.
This is a dancing couple, a ghostly dancing couple that'll encircle you. Sometimes they'll attack you with their sabers they'll bring out. They can do this at range or melee.
Yeah.
Through you. This was one of the ones I don't remember engaging with the mechanics of because I came into this with a 3.
Oh, yeah.
Like with a triple of some kind, I was able to melt this real quick.
Yeah, it didn't stand a chance.
Yeah. The later ones are tougher for me. This is we're past the tough boss fulcrum for me.
Yeah. Then we get to the long library. which is kind of this winding area where there is not too much to say. The armor enemies are more common here, and you get to this room with these portrait galleries, and there are enemies who reach out or shoot out of the paintings.
Yeah. Nice set piece, at the very least. The boss of this is really cool. Sir Grackle, or Luckarg. Not see that one doesn't work.
That makes no sense.
Where you walk into a screen and there's a set of glass armor and a case, and he breaks out with his axe. That's real cool.
Yeah.
His basic attack won't hit you if you're ducking, so you can damage race this guy if you came into this with good health.
Yes. Yeah. Not too terrible, but I like this museum piece waking up to defend his brethren.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. And also just a cool, like a literal set piece. Because we're going to start getting these for the next couple of bosses, and they're satisfying and cool.
Yeah.
I think.
Go down to the catacombs, and this is just a gauntlet of traps in a sewer. So many instant death spikes here.
Yeah. This is where it's not the most hateful platforming, because we're going to get to wildly hateful platforming.
Yeah.
This is some tough platforming. For sure.
Yeah. A little bit aided. It's very tight spacing and timing, and there are also acid drops that will gather and then fall, very strategically placed to knock you out of the air.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, it is a caution platformer. You have to wait, call your shot.
Yes.
The end of this, you get the monster here, a real Cravensworth monster here, who is on different platforms here. Weirdly enough.
Yeah.
And he will kind of, no, I'm thinking of the later guy.
Yeah.
My bad. I'm thinking of the mummy. This guy just walks slowly and throws holy water at you, basically.
Yeah.
Through that. And he can split into two.
Like Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah. Frankenstein have no need of bride.
Yeah.
Frankenstein make bride.
It does. He does.
Yeah.
Or force dad make bride.
Yeah, there we go. Well, in this case, he just kind of buds off.
Yeah.
He gremlins himself a bride.
But yeah, it is very funny how quickly he throws those vials as well. He's really checking those things out.
Yeah. Fairly nasty. But then we get, I love this level.
Yeah, this is great.
The treasury. This is really cool. It feels a little bit like they didn't abandon it, but it doesn't show up in the stable of rooms.
Yeah.
And biomes you always get in Castlevanias. And it's super cool.
Yeah.
The platforming isn't super tricky, but everything is gold. There are treasure chests that you can jump on the top of. A cute little thing. If you jump on one of those 256 times, you get a full health. I read that. I haven't done it. I didn't know about that.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
And there are collapsing gold platforms. They're just like coins stuck together, and as you start walking across them, they collapse and stuff. It just looks really neat.
Yeah.
Being in this opulence, it's a nice visual motif.
Yeah. It's just visual, right?
Yes.
Like the first part has these ornamental ghosts in the foreground, again, showing off mode 7. Part of that is the transparency. I don't think that's technically mode 7, but the layers of transparency is a new thing on the SNES.
We're kind of I think we probably used mode 7 a couple times as an all-purpose new SNES chip stuff. Knowing the actual names of those is too nerdy.
Yeah, a little bit much for me. At one point, I knew what a few of them were, but
it's we're getting mixed up. It's okay.
Yeah. Second half of the level is a lot of grappling points, kind of low stakes right now. Like this is the last breather. Well, no, the clock tower is not as hateful as clock towers usually are.
The clock tower could be worse.
Yeah.
Like I think the clock tower is still rough, but it's not nearly as rough as the end.
Right.
The kind of thing. The boss here, the Zaf Bat. Here, and this is a bat made of treasure. He's made of gold coins.
I like this interpretation. You fought a bat in Castlevania before, right? Just taking it, making it the boss of the treasury, and then just having it be made out of gold coins and gems and stuff is a really nice
animated
visual touch to make it feel. Yeah, to make
it
feel.
It looks real cool when you whip it, like it losing coins. Looks cool. You want to hit it from below because it will spread out coins it spits. Hit it directly from above or from below, but then it will also dive bomb you. So you have to be careful there. And then it inverts this at around half health. It splits into 3 bats that will do lower swoops. And you don't want to hit directly from below them because they will drop coins on your head.
Yes.
that will, proving the urban legend correct, will kill you.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Nothing like a coin dropped from a short distance.
Yep. Coins achieve terminal velocity very quickly.
Take that, Adam Savage. get fucked. Yeah.
Then we get to the clock tower. Usual standby.
Yes.
And we have most of the things. Well, like weirdly, they just have an easier way to implement things they were already doing.
Yes.
With the rotation and stuff. You have horizontal and vertical gears. You got some Medusa heads, again, used here intentionally and sparingly. And the thing they spam is the white dragons.
Yes, which are a big deal. You want to, when I talk about caution in this, if you can get to one of them from below, from a safe space below, and take them out in advance, you want to.
Yeah.
There are also some new tricks here. There's a gear that will come loose and fly at you.
Yeah.
Things like that, like we have not seen before. And then there will be grappling points on these circling chains.
Yes.
So you have to ride them up. And there are spots to get off along the way, which you need to do to look for white dragons and stuff.
Yeah.
Because if you get hit while you're hanging there, you'll fall.
Right. And swinging can only help you so much.
Yeah. The cool level. I like this. And again, the Medusas are not a nonstop thing. There are more of them than before, but it's not just like all Medusas.
Yeah. It's still built around them. Yeah.
Yes.
The boss of this is cool. Super dramatic. You're fighting a mummy named Akmodon II, and you're on this clock face.
Yeah, or Nadamka. They only did it a couple times.
They did, yeah. They should have really been consistent, I think.
This guy can teleport. There are 3 platforms of different kind of elevations, and depending on which one he's on, he'll do different attacks.
Yes.
He can shoot his wrappings on the ground like snakes. He can shoot fireballs at you, and he can disappear and appear under you.
Yes.
So you have to jump between these different platforms to take care of him.
Yeah. It's neat. I like fighting this guy. Not especially hard. They're saving the super hard bosses for the next, the final rush, which is pretty much all the Castle Keep is.
Yes. With also, I think, the hardest platforming in this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it is a platforming challenge and boss rush that is hard. The outside, there's this collapsing bridge you have to outrun. Bats are chasing you. This is just mostly a set piece, but then you get to the tower and you have to climb it. This is really hard.
This took me forever, Gary, even with save states. Good Lord.
Yeah, this is hard. It starts with a little death ring. Little kukri, not kukri, cirque chasing you.
It's, I mean, you say little, it's gigantic.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah. It's little compared to me, the human, because it's on my Switch screen.
Yeah.
So, Simon is tiny. I'm assuming this whole thing is taking place in the, It Takes Two.
Oh, it's basically
It Takes Two universe. Like Tiny Simon. But you have to, this thing chases you as you go up. This is really hard. Going through. And then the diagonal platforms.
Oh, man. Yeah. Diagonal platforms.
I've never seen anything like that before. This is really hard. I did a save state. I was trying to save state before level segments.
Yes.
Like doing it screen transitions. This is where I broke that.
Yeah.
And did it at the beginning of this part.
Yes.
The diagonal platform thing.
Yeah.
Because they pair it with, they're coming from the lower left to the upper right. And above you is a slanted spike ceiling.
Yeah.
So you have to ride these up while jumping from platform to platform, sometimes making jumps where you're going to assume the platform is there.
Yes.
Like you have to time it out so one will appear so you don't just fall into the drink. Because as you're going up, you're ceding screen real estate.
Yes.
You can't scroll back down. It's one-way ratchet. This is neat. I've never seen anything like this. That I can remember. It's really fucking hard, but it made me want a version of this kind of encounter tuned, more generously.
Yeah.
This.
It feels like they're asking too much, and the specific way that movement happens, specifically around jumping on and off of the collapsing stairs. Right.
Yeah.
Like it was way too easy to accidentally latch onto or, not clear a jump off of the stairs themselves as you're going.
It's weird because that is part of a generosity they've done in stairs, in that you used to not be able to just jump on stairs at all.
Yes.
Like you had to start at the bottom. You still can't jump off stairs, but you can jump into the middle of stairs now.
Yeah.
And everything. And it is easy to get stuck.
Yeah.
On these, like you touch just the edge of a stair and the game considers you on the stairs, not on the edge.
Yeah. So a lot of the time that I died, it was because of that. I would end up, losing just enough time in order to fall. It sucked, even before you get to the diagonally moving platforms.
Yeah. The part's a little bit hateful.
Yeah.
Like I like the ideas on display a lot here, while also wishing it was tuned a little bit better.
Yeah.
I have no kind words for Slogra, the first boss of this. This is the hardest boss. I fucking hate this guy so much.
Yeah.
Slogra. He's the first boss or one of the first bosses of Symphony of the Night.
Yeah. Yeah.
As kind of a callback, this skeletal Birdman, who's just like he's got more game than you.
He's really fast. He's got ups, and most of all, he's got downs.
The downs.
Yeah, that's the downs that are the problem. Like he will try and land right on top of you, and like you walk so slowly that you have to commit to a direction and keep going. Otherwise, he is going to land on you, hit you, and then you're going to fly in a direction and then get hit again by a spear.
And he doesn't just attack above. You can do a lot by just ducking and hitting him with your whip when he lands. But every once in a while, he does this like ducking beak attack, which he does more in the second phase, but it has no wind up. It just comes out.
Yes.
I don't know how you're supposed to react to it. He also gets invincibility frames after being hit. And, so you can't hit him for a little while after he lands.
Yeah.
That's unusual. Other bosses don't have that. This guy, it took me a billion tries. This guy fucking sucks.
The second phase, he loses his spear and his skin and starts doing everything faster.
Yeah, does more of the low attacks, which are harder to counter. I found this guy's really hard.
Yeah,
Slowgrog, get fucked.
Yes. The second boss in the run, Gaibon, the big gargoyle guy, comparatively not that hard.
Not a big deal.
Yeah.
His first phase, he'll slam to the ground and we'll drop these spikes, and then we'll shoot fireballs at you. You can't duck under these. You just have to be out of their way. In the second phase, he turns red and starts shooting spread shot fireballs.
Yeah.
But he's still, again, this would be an enemy that if you didn't have the right sub weapon in the previous games would absolutely fuck you.
Oh yeah.
Being able to attack
being up and diagonal. Yeah.
Yeah. Being able to attack diagonally is the only thing that makes this work. And it's an example I had put before people who think that the sub-weapon management is the primary challenging thing of Castlevania is in this one, you have your whip skills that you've been developing for the entire game and you have to utilize them to fight this guy versus the game just making sure it drops an axe for you before this.
Yes.
Because he's nigh impossible without it. Not impossible. Like obviously people do challenge runs and stuff, but instead of just giving you the new tool to use it, you just do the old tool and test to see if you've been figuring it out, if you've internalized it. Yeah. I do not accept the premise that is less interesting, personally.
Agreed.
Yeah.
This is weirdly a boss that gets easier in the second phase too.
Yeah. Yeah. He's the last easy thing. In this, because the next up is Death, who is also hard.
Yeah.
In this is testing to know whether you know how to use your limp dick. Can you deploy Flaccid? if you can hang limp, you can fight Death.
Yes.
In this.
Yeah. He is not a huge projectile monster in this. He will spend a lot of the time on one side of the screen. He will throw his scythe out. And then you just have to jump over it while he is kind of pulling you toward him. Yeah. The limp whip will help you when he's off-gassing sickles.
Yeah. Which for me, he did a lot of time.
Yeah.
Like you got in your damage when he was doing the sickle attack and pulling you towards him. When he was just kind of scooting around, shooting out little sickles, I just hung out in the lower left and like waggled my ding dong at him, and it just works.
Yeah.
Like you just cruise limp. But it took a while to figure it out. What I needed to do, because those little sickles will all come at oblique angles. And it's really easy for one bit of damage to turn to another.
Yeah.
In this game, as you end up in a stun animation, and then you're not facing the right way to whip limp at the next one. So.
Yeah. Then we get to a super dramatic approach to Dracula, to Casltevania's kind of chamber where he, is in a coffin in the background. You walk along this hallway as torches light up when you pass.
Yeah. Right before this, I think another reason why people think of this game as easy is that there are secrets that we didn't talk about. I didn't remember where they were from when I was younger. But this one, you can jump down onto an invisible platform under Dracula, and it will fully power you up. You get the cross weapon with triples.
What?
So that would make this really easy. I didn't do it this time.
Okay.
Because I forgot about it. But then when I was reading about this for research, I was reminded of it. And I think having these, there's a couple other little secrets that you can find, like little set piece hidden rooms. There's a ghost with a dog it has. And if you kill the dog, the ghost gets sad. But, little kind of previews of like the confession room and Symphony of the Night.
Yeah.
Things of that nature. This one is just before the boss, you get super powered if you make a leap of faith into nothing. I don't love that.
That's basically like a cheat code.
It feels like a cheat code. But I think that's part of it because that you have access to that. I think is one reason why people think of this as not that climactic of a fight, but also you don't have to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Dracula is very specifically designed to punish you for doing things that feel intuitive.
Yes.
Like his main attack, he still is teleporting around. He only his head is vulnerable, so you have to jump up to to whip him. But his primary attack in the first little bit is a fireball that if you try to jump over it, it will shoot up a little auxiliary fireball and hit you, knock you out of the air.
And you also can't, if you hit the bottom one, you can't duck under it either. These will home in once they get to you. This is teaching you, this is a test of whether you've been using your whip defensively.
Yes.
This is another time when you want to get out the limp and kind of wiggle them in the general direction of fireballs until they go away.
Yes.
Here. So you wiggle and destroy them after you get an attack. And the window is pretty short for this. You do this for a while, and then it kind of becomes a greased rail. Here, they are like, you figured it out.
Yeah.
Because phase 2, he does these lightning orbs, one of which that if you destroy it, you'll get a meat.
Yeah.
From it. This is another thing I didn't know until I was reading about it, but he won't go into the next phase until you hit him. So you can milk him for meat. You can milk a drac for meat.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. Milk dracs. You can just do this and have him throw out meat lightning at you until you've had your fill.
Yeah.
And then hit him to restart the fight.
Yeah. His primary attack here, along with that I forgot to make a note of here, I've got a video open, is he creates those flame skulls that start out at mid-screen up and then will kind of like vaguely home down in on you. You want to hit them when they're low and at like a correct angle because they will like immediately drop toward you and create a little like fire spout.
They keep their momentum as they're moving.
Yeah.
So if they're heading towards you, above you, and you hit them, if you can run under them, they'll keep heading towards you.
Yeah.
But if they're too close, like you're just going to get hit. Those are very tough.
Yeah.
IMO. But eventually it gets into this lightning phase where he does those meat lightnings and then lightning from the ceiling.
Yeah.
Which is just a standard video game attack. Like, don't stand where the lightning's going to strike. The game knows you got this at this point. The music changes. At this point to be more dramatic and like triumphant as you've got Dracula's number. Like this is not as soul crushing as some of the other Dracula fights. Like I will agree to that, but it also has that great dramatic pace to it.
Yes.
I love the music turning halfway through.
Yeah. It's like blocked out and staged very well. Also not a Dracula fight where he turns into a big old demon. It is just humanoid Drac until the very end, when one of the windows breaks and then a sunbeam turns him into bats. Yeah,
what a quinky dink.
Yeah.
He turns into a bunch of bats. They all break apart except for one. One bat remains. And then you beat it. And that's Super Castlevania 4. You go and stand on the mountain and look at the look out in the sunset like you do in a Castlevania.
Yeah. That's how that's how these games end.
Yeah. I love this game. Like this was very refreshing to me. There was definitely some bullshit.
Yeah.
Like there's some hateful platforming, some hitboxes I disagree with.
Yeah.
If you are just trying to do this save states, I can see it being frustrating for a today's gamer.
Yeah. But with modern affordances, right? Like,
yeah. And I didn't have to, I didn't have to get to, and this is not a flex in any way, because I've definitely had to do this for other things, get into that, the most degenerate form of save stating where it's like, if I make this jump, save, if not, I don't.
Yeah.
And just kind of almost taskbot yourself, through it. I didn't have to do that. I just gave myself checkpoints.
Yes.
And it was satisfying to be like, okay, this is really hard, but I think I know I can do this differently. These platforming parts I probably did 5 or 6 times to get them. These later bosses I probably did 5 or 6 times to beat them. But each time I did feel like I was kind of figuring it out and getting a little closer.
Yeah.
Lots of near misses. A lot of like, I just about got that if I had done this a little bit better.
Yeah.
This is really satisfying and made me miss this style of game a lot.
Yeah. I'm pretty much in the same place. I had to rely on some, unsavory quick save and quick load, just save stating, just because there's
time is fucking finite, and
yeah,
it's December 20th when we were recording this, and we've recorded 11 shows this week. On top of getting this stuff done, so be nice. No. But there's also a thing too where I'd beaten it as a kid. I did this with just passwords and stuff as a child. Like I felt like I had nothing to prove.
But like it shows that, by and large, like the thing that is special about Castlevania, like, this particular stripe of it isn't, the limited move set and the deterministic, almost like physics of the, the first 3. Like that stuff is that stuff is cool and it's there, but like what's special is the shit that's designed around it.
The effect it gives you is those are tools to achieve a specific effect, but they're not the only tools.
And they change the tools, and then they continue designing intentionally around it, and it feels like you still keep that nice little bit of, I don't know, like frisson, distance between your capability and what it's asking of you most of the time. And that difference, being, consistent and thoughtful, does make this refreshing to play, like you said.
I think so. I'm ready for a pendulum to swing in this direction again. Specifically for Castlevania, but also just generally. Yeah. Like we've had, if you think of one of those, 4 square axis things, and it's like ease, rigor, fast, and slow. The speed thing, we are moving into rigorous fast. Yeah. And I miss rigorous slow so much. Yes. I just don't want to do twitch parries my entire life. I want to stop and look for traps and still have it be really hard. Yeah. The other thing is that, I don't think we camp out on this all that often. I find it hard to overstate how aesthetically pleasing I find this game. Yeah. The combination of like the colors and the atmosphere, the little grace animations in the background, the music, and specifically that victory sting, like really, really gets you pumped. Yeah. A lot of bosses I barely beat. And then like, you're holding your breath and you do it, and then you get that tune. And it feels really good. Yeah. This game was a delivery method for that for me.
Absolutely. There's a lot of very smart elements working together, both mechanically and aesthetically here.
Yeah. Very artful. And, and kind of a turning point, like as we still have a couple more after this, but we're going to lose our classic non-Igavanias. Yep. Yeah. Kind of a bummer. I think in a long enough timeline, we'll probably do Bloodlines and Rondo of Blood.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
We'll probably roll those out, get those classics. Yeah. Thanks everybody for listening. We appreciate you.
We do.
If you have thoughts about Castlevania 4, please write in at Duckfeed.tv/contact by the 15th of January.
Please do. If you have thoughts about multiple games, please separate them and be specific and concise. We should probably say what those games are.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's usually what I say next. Castlevania 4, Project Snowblind, play the PS2 version if you're playing along. Tactical Breach Wizards, new kind of micro strategy RPG kind of thing. And then our premium episode for this month is going to be Super Mario 64. Got 2 classic ones in a row. Yeah. Or in the same month, rather.
Got some classics this year. In February, the deadline is February 15th, and that is the Netflix Choose Your Own Adventure movie Bandersnatch, the Tenchu Stealth Assassins on the PS1, the first one. And then finally, it is Against the Black Priory.
Skull against the Black Priory.
Thank you. Yeah. If you're listening to this and you are any kind of oppressed minority of any type, please send me an email at gary@duckfeed.tv. Include your project or product, pronunciation, spelling, pronouns, links, things like that. We'd be happy to shout you out. If you want to help us out, join us on Patreon.
Please do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get a bunch of cool stuff. We recently made some announcements about how things are going to change. Some minor things, guest episodes, occasionally digging up a rarity to air for you around big events, conventions, things like that. The response to that has been very positive, and we appreciate you. Yeah, we appreciate that.
We appreciate you very much. If you cannot patronize us, please rate and review us on Apple Podcast, Podcast Addict, or wherever you get podcast. Please tell your friends, write about us on message boards, things like that. We don't advertise. That is how we get people to find out about the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. And join us and thank our producer, Gwen.
Thank you so much, Gwen.
Yeah. What should they watch out for?
I would say watch out for that fireball, but don't try to jump over it.
Yeah. And Paula Abgul.
Yeah,
Watch out for Paula Abgul. Paula Abgul.
Opposite when opposites attack.
Oh, very good.